Welcome into the Commanders Report, a live show here on a beautiful Thursday evening. Thank you to everybody for spending part of your Thursday with us here on the Commanders Report. We got a bunch of great Commanders content coming your way here over the next hour and a half or so here. It's going to be a good day here on the Commanders Report. So today on the show, we're going to be going over the latest news and rumors from OTAs here for the Washington Commanders. Some stuff on Jamin Davis, Joe Witt Jr., the defensive coordinator, and head coach Dan Quinn talked to the media yesterday. I'll give you guys some of my takeaways there. Then we'll get into our buy, sell, or hold segment for the week, where I tell you to buy, sell, or hold stock in a Commanders rumor that is floating out there. And then we're going to get into a segment here where I'm going to be talking about the Commanders players on the roster right now that are under the most pressure heading into the 2024 season. And then we'll finish up today's show with the weekly Commanders Report live Q&A. And if you want to get a question on this week's mailbag, all you got to do is get down there in the live chat and use hashtag Commanders or Super Chat along with your question, and producer Coop is going to get your question on today's show. And with that, let's bring in producer Coop here. How you doing,
Welcome.
Coop? You having a good week?
I am great. Game one tonight, NBA Finals. My Mavericks are in it. I'm very, very excited. I just can't wait.
Yeah, the Mavericks. I think you are a Dallas kind of guy. You know, you're a Cowboy fan. Boo them in the chat if you want. You're a Rangers fan. They won the World Series last year. But the Mavericks are your team.
That's my squad.
That is your favorite team in all professional sports, and they are in the finals. So, we hate the Dallas Cowboys here, and, I'm sure a lot of people don't like the Dallas Mavericks here and probably cheering for Boston, but,
no one's cheering for Boston if you're not in Boston.
Boston's such a fraud.
No one likes them.
No one likes that city. No one likes that fan base. Hopefully you're cheering for the Mavericks. I know I am. So where are you guys watching the show from? Let me know down there in the comments section. Jonathan Taylor is watching his couch. Omar's burner is here. We got 48 people watching for a shout-out to kick off today's show. Tell us where you're watching the show from, and we'll give you a shout-out to start today's show. Omar's burner says he's still at Brandon Ayuk's house with a sigh.
He's been there for about 6 weeks.
He's probably longer than that, honestly, if we're being honest. Jerry Gettings is from Alabama. We got Jonathan Taylor here. I know Cassie Voth, my girlfriend, is watching here in Dallas, Texas.
We don't know unless she comments.
That's right. Cassie, if you're watching, let us know. John is coming to us from Lakehurst, New Jersey. And now let's talk a little bit about the finals. Game one tonight here, Coop. Obviously, you're pulling for your Mavericks.
Of course.
If you want to watch Coop tonight, actually, he's going to be on our Mavericks channel for our live watch party here at Chat Sports. So if you want to kick it with us here at Chat Sports for Game 1 tonight, you can find us on our main Chat Sports YouTube channel, on our Mavericks channel, or even our Celtics channel. But no one wants to watch that.
Who
that
wants to
stream.
see Smitty?
No one wants to see Smitty.
No.
Smitty can suck a dick.
Whoa.
That team's going to lose. Mavericks are going to take the title.
That's facts.
And you know what? I'm going to say Mavs and 6. What is your prediction here?
Yeah, Mavs in 6 is my prediction. That's what my head's telling me. My heart tells me Mavs in 4. That won't happen, obviously.
Yeah.
So we'll stick with Mavs in 6. We also have fellow Mavs fan Joey in here who's sitting on his first live show. Joey, prediction?
Mavs in 6.
Mavs and 6.
Mavs in 6 seems to be the consensus.
Okay, Omar's burner goes down there and says, wait, Sperry, the T-Wolves aren't in the finals? No, they're currently in Cabo sipping on some pina coladas right now. Trying to get over that loss in the Western Conference Finals. But you know what? We're all Mavericks fans because F the Celtics.
Let's go.
And F Boston. Okay, so today, we're trying to beat the Cowboys Report's live show from last week in Super Chat and Venmo totals. Last week, Tom Downey and the Cowboys Report was able to get $62 in Super Chat revenue. Today, we're trying to get to at least 100. I'd like to get to 100 here today. And the Cowboys Report got to $62. I'm trying to beat them, and I'm trying to get them going here because, the Cowboys Report sucks. I'm sorry to break it to you, Coop. The Cowboys, fraudulent franchise, not America's team by any stretch of the imagination. And
I think two things can be true. One is that they are a fraudulent franchise. I do believe that to be true. Number 2, they are America's team.
Do you think?
Let's not get that twisted.
I don't know, man. I feel like there's teams elsewhere in the NFL that have more fans.
No.
Yeah, I actually think so.
Nowhere.
I think so.
When you go to a game, when it's Cowboys Commanders at FedEx over there in Landover, it is 70% Cowboys fans.
That is the same with literally every other opponent.
Oh, so there are a lot of Cowboys fans everywhere is what you're saying.
No, there's.
I got you in a twist
No, you
there.
did not. No, you did not. What are you talking about? I'm saying that every time the Commanders play at home, no Commanders fans want to go. In the past, because of Dan Snyder, they were boycotting, and FedEx Field is terrible.
So what's the excuse now?
Well, we'll see. We'll see how what the ratio looks like this year with Jaden Daniels. All right. So Commanders report, we're going to get a new stadium. Okay, when FedEx Field that crap hole gets replaced.
It is a dump.
It is a dump. It is of the NFL. It is absolutely terrible. And there were sewage leaks in the middle of games last year. It was ridiculous. But you know what, man? It looks like the Commanders are going to get a new arena here soon, which is going to be a lot of fun. Help us beat the Cowboys report today by super chatting, if you will. You can also get a guaranteed spot on our mailbag by super chatting. Any super chat, you're going to get a shout out. We'll put you on screen. We'll show you some love. $10 super chats today. Bean-Boozled jelly beans. So we got these nasty flavored jelly beans right here by Jelly Belly. Flavors such as stinky socks, barf, dirty dishwater, old bandage, rotten egg, bunch of terrible flavors. For $10, we will eat these jelly beans for you guys. $20, we got the F the Cowboys hat here. We got a bunch of names on there already. It's starting to fill up, but we still got a couple spots left. So if you want to get your name on the hat, $20 super chat. And also, if you put in a $20 super chat, we'll have to eat 2 Bean-Boozled jelly beans at the same time. And I'll say this right now, guys. Every item on this list right here, if you Venmo us instead of super chat, it's going to be half off. So it'd be $5 beans. And then $10, you get your name on the hat, and we'll do 2 beans for you guys. And the reason why we ask for Venmos is because we get to keep a larger portion of the proceeds. YouTube takes a portion of every super chat that we get here on the platform. But if you send it to Venmo, we get to keep a larger proceed, which we definitely appreciate. So if you want to send it to @Jack-Sperry here on Venmo, you can scan the QR code, or you can just send that directly with the link there @Jack-Sperry. Really do appreciate all of your guys' support. So make sure you guys like the stream. If you haven't already, type me down there in the comments section. Type me if you have liked the show. We have 42 people watching. We need to get to at least 20 likes before we get into our first segment here.
Let's go.
I see Omar's Burner down in the chat. I see John. I see Eugene. I see John again. I see Jerry. I see Jonathan Taylor. I see Steven. Click that thumbs up icon, then type me in the chat for a shout out here. I want to see who all the real ones are. I see Bo Mudd down there in the comments section. What's up, Bo? Got a bunch of good Commanders fans ready to go today. We got about 50 people watching. We still need one more like. I see my man Demarius Young down there in the chat right now. What's up, Demarius? Good to see your face. Still need one more like. There we go. We got it right there, folks. Let's get into our first segment right now, which is the latest news and rumors surrounding the Washington Commanders here at OTAs. Mandatory minicamp starts next week. They're finishing up OTAs this week. A bunch of great stuff to cover here. Then we'll get into our buy, sell, or hold segment. Then I'll tell you which Commanders players are under the most pressure heading into 2024. And then we'll get into the Commanders Report live mailbag segment to finish things out today. So without further ado, let's get into our first segment right now, the latest news and rumors surrounding the Washington Commanders. Could Jamin Davis be Dan Quinn's next Micah Parsons? That is the question that we're going to be breaking down at the top of today's edition of the Commanders Report. Then we'll talk about what head coach Dan Quinn and defensive coordinator Joe Witt Jr. had to say at OTAs during their press conferences this week. And then we'll go into a Bleacher Report article that breaks down Washington's biggest position battle heading into mandatory minicamp next week and, of course, training camp here in a few weeks from now. So before we get into a loaded edition of Commanders News and Rumors here, do me a favor, get down there in the comments section and type Raise Hail in all caps down there in the comments section if you are excited for this next era of Washington Commanders football. I know I am. You got this new head coach in Dan Quinn that seems to know what he's doing. Jaden Daniels, somebody that could be a superstar quarterback of the future here for Washington, is here. It seems like the foundation is really starting to get set here in the nation's capital. So if you're excited about it, let me know down there in the comments by typing Raise Hail. So let's first talk about Jamin Davis here, who as an inside linebacker, which is how Jack Del Rio and Ron Rivera were using him in the previous regime, he's been fine, but he's definitely not been the best overall inside linebacker in the world. And now it seems like with Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr. coming in here, they're trying to convert him into an edge rushing type, almost outside linebacker here, similar to the way they converted Micah Parsons from almost like a linebacker that he played there at Penn State. And now, nowadays, he's pretty much a true edge rusher. Jamin Davis has been practicing a ton at edge rusher. They're blitzing him a whole lot. And even Jamin himself, in his press conference this week, said he has a ton of opportunities to rush the passer in this defense. And you take a look at the build here between Jamin Davis and Micah Parsons. Both of these guys were inside linebackers in college. They're both 6'3". Davis is a little bit lighter than Parsons is, but he's longer. He's got 33-inch arms compared to Micah's 31.5. Then you get the 40 times, and even though Micah is a freak of nature at that 4.36 long speed, Jamin is also a very good athlete at 4.48, and then the 10-yard split there is actually better than Micah Parsons. So Jamin's get-off coming off the line of scrimmage and getting that advantage on offensive tackles is definitely going to be there. But obviously, Jamin, he can't necessarily be Micah Parsons, all right? I'm not sure if that's a good comp because Micah Parsons is Micah Parsons, right? He's so big and strong, and then he pairs that with that speed. And I'm just not sure if Jamin Davis can really match Micah Parsons one-for-one. However, I do think he can fill Micah Parsons' role within this Dan Quinn scheme that Joe Witt Jr., the new defensive coordinator, is implementing. And I really like this idea. I mean, Jamin is somebody that's always been extremely physically talented. He's always been a really good blitzer, but he's never been the best in coverage, and he just doesn't have a great feel for the inside linebacker position, which is why I think he could be an excellent edge rusher in this league. You take a look at the Pro Football Focus grades from last year, right? So overall, it was pretty good. It was his best season as a pro at the linebacker position. And he's gotten better every single year, 67.6 last year. That was around middle of the pack among starting linebackers last year. But the pass rush grade was a 71.6, which ranked 23rd. And his run defense grade was 76.1, which ranked 20th. Those are two things that he could absolutely bring to the table as an edge rusher from day one. Then the coverage grade wasn't as good, which kind of points to him maybe not being the best fit on the inside and maybe that he should be doing more work on the defensive line. And I do think that he'd probably be a better edge rusher than a linebacker, just like Micah Parsons was when Dan Quinn took up that Penn State product that was extremely raw at the inside linebacker position coming in and then turned him into arguably the most dominant edge in our game today. That's definitely something that this staff is capable of doing with Jamin Davis. Now, in terms of a comp for Jamin Davis, and what I think we could see from him is kind of something like a Baron Browning from the Denver Broncos, who also came into the league as an inside linebacker, is kind of like an athletic freak, but he didn't really, get the nuances of the inside linebacker position. It's a really tough position to learn and to grow into, but they moved him over to edge, and he is electric at that position. I think they have a very similar skill set physically with the speed and the get-off. I think Jamin Davis could absolutely be a menace on the outside for the Washington Commanders, and I can't wait to see how he's going to do this year. Now, predict it for me down there in the comments section. Will Jamin Davis lead the Washington Commanders in sacks this season? Type Y for yes or N for no. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show. So in just a second here, I'm going to be talking about our sponsor, Prize Picks. When I do that, go down there in the comments section and give me a Y for yes or N for no. Now, with that, let's have a word from our sponsor here at Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS or download the Prize Picks app today. Use our code CLNS for a first-time deposit match up to $100. And Prize Picks has specials for new and returning users alike for the NBA Finals this year between the Dallas Mavericks and the Boston Celtics. And the finals mean more on Prize Picks, and so do the star players. You get boosted payouts on select basketball stars that you won't find anywhere else, and Prize Picks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. Get in on the daily action with your friends now and become a part of the Prize Picks community today. Here are my projections for Game 1 of the NBA Finals this year. The Jason Tatum one here, you get the deal with the 0.5 points. Easy money there. Take the more. Then we go with the Luka Doncic, 31.5 points. I think in Game 1, he's been fantastic. He's been the best player in the playoffs. I'm going to take the more there for Luka. Then I'll take the more with Derek Lively, the rookie sensation out of Duke with more, 16.5 points, assists, rebounds. Prize Picks is simple to play. All you have to do is pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections. and then watch the winnings roll in. Get started now if you haven't already at prizepicks.com/CLNS or download the PrizePicks app today and get a first-time deposit match up to $100 when you use code CLNS. Pick more or pick less. It's that easy with our friends at PrizePicks. Now let's dive into some interesting comments from the press conferences this week for both head coach Dan Quinn and then also the defensive coordinator Joe Witt Jr., who's just a delight to watch, by the way, in these press conferences. I love the way Joe Witt Jr. Just commands the room when he gets up there. But Dan Quinn does a great job as well, and this is what he had to say about the differences between OTAs and training camp. This is what Coach Quinn had to say. The competition during OTAs is certainly different than it is in training camp. It's speed, it's execution, but not the physicality. So we don't want to go too far in the evaluation physically because so much of this evaluation is assignment communication. If we get that part right, then we know when we get to camp, we'll really let it rip. And listen, guys, I really do think that this is an important note on OTAs, and this is why you should be pretty wary about hearing like, oh, this person is dropping dimes at OTAs, or this guy's really shining at OTAs. It's like, maybe you're executing and, you're making some nice plays and you're showing off your skill, but when the pads come on, it is a completely different game, man. And, I think Quinn does a really good job of differentiating that here by saying that the training camp portion of the offseason is super important. Then we get to another quote here from Dan Quinn on the importance of situational football here and teaching that during OTAs, where he said, we're going to work the situation side of the game as much as we can, knowing that about 70% of our league, the games are decided by 8 points or less. It kind of speaks to the importance of what can happen at the end of the half or at the end of a game. And I love the emphasis on situational awareness. All the best teams in the National Football League definitely take a lot of time for situational awareness, or as they call it, situational excellence. The Vikings do it. The New England Patriots under Bill Belichick were known to do this a lot. So a lot of teams in the NFL really worry about these situational stuff, the 2-minute drill stuff, both offensively and defensively, really trying to get that stuff right so that you can finish halves and games on a good note. Then we get to Joe Witt Jr., the defensive coordinator here, on his defensive building philosophy, and this is what he had to say. I think if you're just limited to saying, hey, we run one scheme and that's all we have, and no, you have the players that you have, and you make sure that you are putting them in the best position to play high-level football. And honestly, guys, this is how the best defensive minds in the world think. This is how the best coaches in the world think. They think, okay, I've got these players. This is what they do well. Here's how we can kind of accentuate their strengths so that our team can be as successful as possible. Whereas some people have like, I have my scheme and you're going to fit into my scheme and that's what we're going to run no matter what. And if you have a limited mindset like that, it really limits the stuff that you're able to do and your ability to make adjustments when things go wrong. So I really appreciate that Joe Witt Jr. has this mindset of adaptability and kind of making his scheme about the players and not about him. Then we got another one here from Joe Witt Jr. on what Washington's defense will look like here in 2024. The advantage that we have right now is people don't know, okay? And we're going to keep that advantage until they figure it out, so I'm not going to say. I'm not trying to dodge anyone's question. I'm answering it the best way I can, but we have good players, and we're going to put them in positions to help us win. And listen, I love the competitive fire here from Joe Witt Jr. People were trying to ask him, like, what's your defense going to look like? And he's like, hey, man, nobody's seen our defense, so we're not going to give away the secrets before we actually show them, all right? It's on them to figure it out. I'm not going to tell them in this press conference before the season what we're going to be running, because then that gives them an advantage. So that's one of the advantages of being a first-year team in a new administration with an NFL franchise, is that no one really knows what you're going to run. So the fact that that mystery is still out there for other NFL teams definitely gives Washington a nice advantage offensive or defensively here. Now make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon if you haven't already. If you are a Commanders Report Real one, if you watch all of our videos, you watch to the end, you've already clicked that subscribe button. Thank you guys for all of your support. And if you are a real one, you know that clicking that thumbs up icon is the fastest and easiest way to support the channel. So I really do appreciate your support. So now let's finish off today's show here with a Bleacher Report article that claims that Washington's most interesting position battle is at the second outside cornerback position. This is what Alex Ballantyne from Bleacher Report had to say. The Commanders lost Kendall Fuller in free agency and ostensibly, wow, that's a big word, folks, replaced him with Michael Davis. He had his struggles with the Chargers, but he's the most experienced player of the group, so he's a presumptive starter. Another big word there from Ballantyne. The other outside position should be interesting. The Commanders used the number 16 pick on Emmanuel Forbes in last year's draft, but there's a new front office in charge. Benjamin St-Juste played better, but doesn't have the same ceiling. So listen, I've been saying for a long time here on the channel, guys, outside cornerback is a big issue for this team, and I did not think that GM Adam Peters did enough to address this position in the offseason. I think Emmanuel Forbes has been trying to gain weight, but he still looks like a freaking twig out there. Michael Davis did not have a good season last year in LA, and then Benjamin St-Juste didn't have the best year here in Washington last year either. So, I mean, you're kind of expecting one of these guys to at least to step up into a big-time role this year. I'm not sure if any of them are going to be able to do it, but let me know down there in the comments section. Out of these three guys, one of them is going to be the odd man out. Who is it going to be? Who's going to be sitting pine this year to start the year? Type MD for Michael Davis, type EF for Emmanuel Forbes, or BSJ for Benjamin St-Juste. So for me, the most intriguing position battle has to be wide receiver, okay? Just because there's so many interesting names in this room. Now, it's not like they have a ton of, superstar talent. They do have Terry McLaurin, who I do believe is a top 10 wide receiver in this league, who's fantastic. Then Jahan Dotson, very intriguing talent there. He's your definite wide receiver, too, heading into the year. But after that, you got a bunch of interesting kind of talents here that could ascend, right? You got De'Ami Brown, who's a good deep threat. Luke McCaffrey is coming in as a relatively early draft pick. Dax Milne has had a role on this team before. Zacchaeus, who they brought in free agency, is a pretty decent player. Jamison Crowder is a very savvy veteran that also brings special teams value. Mitchell Tinsley is somebody that I like. Marcus Rosemy-Jacksain is somebody that I think has been playing really good in OTAs. So the question's going to be, how many wide receivers are they going to keep on this team this year, and then which ones are they going to keep, and which ones are they going to kind of let go? Because I do think that guys like Dax Milne, Marcus Rosemy-Jacksain, others, Mitchell Tinsley, those guys could be on the chopping block here, and it's going to be an interesting competition throughout training camp before the final cuts end up coming here to see who makes this roster and who ends up making an impact on this team this year. So that'll be it for today's show, guys. Really do appreciate your support. Make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already for more Commanders news and rumors content all throughout the 2024 offseason. All right, Coop, 1 down, 3 to go. Still to come is the Commanders Report mailbag. Ostensibly. What a word.
That's wild to use in the writing.
Bleacher Report using some big words.
They're coming up in the world.
Oh, yeah, a little bit. Alex Ballantyne's, very smart man. He knows what ostensibly means. All right, we got the mailbag coming up here soon. So if you want to get a question on the show, don't wait. Now is your time to get your question in. Use #Commanders or Super Chat to get your question on the show. Up next, we got buy, sell, or hold. Coop has come up with a bunch of different scenarios for me to buy, sell, or hold stock in. Oh, yeah. Still waiting on our first Super Chat here. So if we can get our first Super Chat, our first 10, we're going to be doing this Bean-Boozled challenge today. So we got these Bean-Boozled jelly beans. We're trying to beat the Dallas Cowboys report today in total Super Chat revenue. We're trying to beat their live show from last week. They made $62. We're trying to beat them this week. So help us beat the Cowboys report today by sending in those Super Chats. Get those questions in.
We've only got one question right now, so if you use #Commanders and ask a question, chances are you will be on the mailbag.
Okay, so you heard Coop, man. If you want to get a question on the show, I mean, this is your opportunity to do so. #Commanders, along with your question down there in the chat. Really do appreciate your support. In the meantime, we're going to get into our second segment here: buy, sell, or hold. Coop, are you ready to get things going?
I believe we are indeed.
All right, let's get into this next segment right now: buy, sell, or hold stock in the latest Commanders rumors. Welcome into the Commanders Report. I am your host, Jack Sperry, and today I'm going to tell you which Commanders rumors you should buy, sell, or hold stock into. Producer Coop has drawn up lots of interesting possibilities today. I'm going to tell you whether to buy, sell, or hold stock in those scenarios. Before we get into it today, make sure you click that thumbs up icon to get us going today. I really do appreciate all your support. Clicking that thumbs up icon is a super easy way to help out the channel. It tells the YouTube algorithm that you enjoy this content and that they should recommend our shows and our videos to other Commanders fans like yourselves. So I really do appreciate the support. With that, take it away, Producer Coop.
Here we go. First one. Commanders Week 1 kicker will be someone other than Ramiz Ahmed.
Ooh, good question here because, of course, the Commanders signed Ahmed this week. He hit a 61-yard field goal, Coop, in the USFL. It was the USFL record, okay? So this guy's got a leg. So I wouldn't necessarily surprise me, but I'm also going to buy this because, of course, the UFL season's still going on. Jake Bates is kind of the big name in the UFL with the Michigan Panthers. He had a 64-yard field goal earlier this year. So I think that might be their target. They might bring him in. And sure, I think Ahmed might have a chance to compete in training camp, but I do think they bring in more competition, and I think that person is going to have a pretty decent shot at beating out Ahmed for the starting role.
Mike Sainristil, DB out of Michigan, who was taken by the Commanders in the draft, will win Defensive Rookie of the Year.
I love me some Mikey Sainristil, man. You guys know that if you're watching the channel. But I mean, slot defenders usually don't win this award. It usually goes to an edge rusher or an outside corner. So I'm not going to say it's impossible, but I am going to sell stock in this, all right? I think Sainristil is going to be a really good impact player right away. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I think he's going to be one of the best slot defenders in the NFL right away. And, you know, last year I thought that Brian Branch from the Detroit Lions should have been in consideration for Defensive Rookie of the Year. He had a fantastic season, but because he's a slot defender, nobody really paid much attention to him. I fear that that's going to be a similar situation with Sainristil this year. Love the player. I think he's going to be a Commander for life. He's going to be awesome. But in terms of winning that award, not sure if he plays the right position. So let me know down there in the comments section, what is the percent chance that Mike Sainristil wins Defensive Rookie of the Year? I'll give it a 1 or 2% chance, but let me know what you guys think down there for today's pinned comment. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. And when that happens, take advantage of that time by answering today's pinned question.
Next one. Someone currently not on the Commanders roster right now will be the Week 1 starting left tackle for this team.
I really hope so. I don't trust Cornelius Lucas. I don't trust Brandon Coleman. But unfortunately, I'm going to sell stock in this right now, Producer Coop. I just feel like the Commanders feel like, once again, I mean, that's kind of one of the faults that they're bringing in from the past administration. They think that they can fix players. They think that, you know, Cornelius Lucas all of a sudden is going to be an awesome, you know, offensive tackle. He stinks. And, you know, it seems like, you know, they brought him in free agency. They brought him back. He was a free agent this year, and they brought him back. Seems like they believe in him to be a placeholder while Brandon Coleman gets his feet wet. And even if Brandon Coleman takes over for him, I don't think his foot speed is there. He had a really bad season last year at TCU, and he was awful at the Senior Bowl. Thought they overdrafted him a little bit. So I hope they get a Bakhtiari, a Donovan Smith, or, you know, something like that. DJ Humphries even. But I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think this team believes in Lucas and Coleman. So coming up here on the Commanders Report, more scenarios from Producer Coop for me to buy, sell, or hold stock into. But before we get into it, if you want a brand new Jaden Daniels jersey, you can get one today while also helping support the channel by going to chatsports.com/Daniels. I'll put that link in the comments and description of today's show. And when you click that link and then you make a purchase, our friends at Fanatics are going to give us part of the proceeds of every single Jaden Daniels jersey that they sell when you use that link. So I really do appreciate all the support you guys give. If you are looking to get a Jaden Daniels jersey, and you know you want to help out the channel, this is your chance to do so. Go to chatsports.com/Daniels. Get your brand new number 5 Jaden Daniels Commanders jersey in your closet today.
A popular topic around these parts. Washington's team name will still be Commanders 5 years from now.
You guys know I'm not the biggest fan of Commanders. I've grown a little bit more accustomed to it, but I do hope they change it someday. But I'm actually going to hold this one because, you know, Commanders ownership it seems like they're leaning towards keeping it. Now, it's definitely possible that fan outrage and the fan response gets worse and worse, and they eventually, you know, change the name within 5 years. I think it's possible. But I think, you know, if you would have asked me a year ago, I would have said they're definitely changing it. Now I'm not too sure. I'm going to say hold this one. So make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon if you haven't already. If you are a Commanders Report real one, thank you guys so much for all of your support. Help make this video the best it can possibly be by liking today's show.
Joe Witt Jr., new defensive coordinator. He will get a head coaching job in the next 3 seasons.
I'm a big fan of Joe Witt Jr. If you watch the show, you guys know that. I'm going to say buy this one. I think, he speaks like a head coach. He speaks in a way that, makes you want to run through a brick wall. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin when he talks, and he's very team-oriented. He's somebody that doesn't like to give secrets away in press conferences, and he's very tough-minded, and that's something I really like. Another thing that I really like about Joe Witt Jr. is that he molds his defense to the talents of his personnel instead of just having like a cookie-cutter type system that he just runs despite the personnel. That's how bad defensive coordinators run their defenses. He is really versatile, and he switches things up based on personnel and their strengths and weaknesses. And I think that's how the best defensive minds in football operate. I think within the next 3 years, the Commanders' defense is going to be awesome. I think as a result, he's going to get a much-deserved head coaching job.
Will linebacker or edge, whatever he is nowadays.
But he's pretty much a hybrid player at this point.
Will Jamin Davis get a second contract with the Commanders?
So he is heading into a contract year here. It's going to depend on how productive he is, right? There's a reason why they haven't extended him, because they just don't know how good he's going to be at that edge rusher position. I could see him being awesome and being like a Baron Browning or a Micah Parsons light version, and being a very good player. But I'm going to say hold here because we just don't know. I think he's got the physical skill set to be really good, but he's also learning pretty much a brand new position, pretty much on the fly here with a new staff. And, it's definitely possible that things don't work out. So, I'll say hold on this one. I'm probably more optimistic with Jamin this year than not. But I'm not going to tell you to buy stock in something I'm not 100% sure of.
Last one here, Chris Rodriguez Jr. will finish 2024 as RB2.
I'll say buy. I'll buy that. I think Austin Eckler last year showed us that he's losing a bit of juice. And listen, Austin's not going to have the biggest role in this offense. It's going to be Brian Robinson Jr. as the main back to start, and I do think Austin Eckler will be the third down kind of scat back, and he's not going to get as much of a workload as he did in LA, which should help him a bit, but he lost a step last year. He lost some speed, and Chris Rodriguez Jr. had some very nice moments at the end of last year that we were really excited about. So I think he's somebody on the up and up. Austin Eckler is probably on the downward trend of his career. I think by season's end, we might see Chris Rodriguez Jr. Move up the ranks here. That'll be it for today's edition of the Commanders Report. Thank you to producer Coop for helping us out and getting those situations for me to answer today. So make sure you click that subscribe button right now if you haven't already. Really do appreciate your support. And until next time, hail to the Commanders. 2 down, 2 to go, producer Coop. Still got the mailbag coming up. So if you guys want to get a question on the show, make sure you use hashtag Commanders or Super Chat to make sure you guys get on the show, because this is your opportunity to get on the show, to have your voice heard. If you have a question, if you have a comment, if you want to call me an idiot for any of my takes, this is your opportunity to do so and get on the show.
So you think Austin Eckler's cooked?
He might be cooked.
Yeah.
I think as a third down back, he still brings value. He's an excellent receiver. He runs good routes, and he's a really good mentor to the younger running backs in the room. But I feel like some Commanders fans feel like he's going to be, the fantasy god version of Austin Eckler that we knew for all those years, and I just don't see that in him anymore. I hope I'm wrong. Like, if he comes out and he's awesome and he's a Pro Bowl caliber player again, more to him and more to the Commanders offense. But I'm managing expectations when it comes to Austin Eckler this year.
No, I feel that.
All right, Super Chat menu here. Any Super Chat, you're going to get a shout out. $10 Bean-Boozled. $20 name on the F the Cowboys hat, and then $20 as well. Not only do you get your name on the hat, but I have to eat 2 of those dreaded Bean-Boozled jelly beans at the same time. So any Super Chat, any donation to the show is much appreciated. Every single dime goes to making more Commanders content for free here on the channel, and I definitely appreciate all of your guys' support. We still got one more segment here before the mailbag. And it's going to be pretty interesting here. I got 10 Commanders players that I believe are under the most pressure heading into the 2024 campaign. Producer Coop, are we ready to get things going?
We are prepared.
All right, let's get into it now. Make sure you get your questions in because we got the mailbag up next, and we only have a couple questions in right now. So you got an excellent opportunity to get on the show with just the hashtag Commanders. So make sure you get those questions in. Until we get to the end of this one here, let's get into the next segment. Pressure-packed 2024 seasons for the Washington Commanders. Welcome into the Commanders Report. I am your host, Jack Sperry, and today the pressure is on. I am naming 10 Commanders players that I believe are under the most pressure to perform next season. Can't wait to share my list with you guys today, but before we get into it, we are getting closer and closer by the day to moving up in the Chat Sports power rankings here in total subscribers. Our next target is the Alabama Football Report, who currently have, about 1.5K subscribers above us. But you know what? It's a college football channel. It's a slow-growing channel. We can absolutely catch these guys by the start of the season. If that's not enough to make you click that subscribe button right now, here's what Alabama Football Report host Tom Downey has to say about new Commanders quarterback Jaden Daniels. How stupid do you have to be to take Jaden Daniels over Drake May?
He can't even spell it right.
He can't even spell it right. Absolutely. Weak arm, can't make plays with his arm outside the pocket, and got to coast behind some excellent playmakers at LSU. I can't wait to see him crumble in the NFL, and especially against the Cowboys, just like he did every time against Bama. Roll, Tide, roll. So if you want to make Tom Downey shut his stupid face, make sure you click that subscribe button right now. Help us catch up to the Alabama Football Report so we can pass him up in the Chat Sports Power Rankings. All right, so now let's start with the first name on my list here, and I think this is the most evident. Emmanuel Forbes needs to show up this year, man. Last year with the number 16th overall pick, this team passed on Christian Gonzalez, who looked awesome with the New England Patriots. He looks like a bona fide number one corner for Emmanuel Forbes, who, let's just put it nicely here, he was burnt toast against guys like A.J. Brown and DK Metcalf, and like these bigger receivers could just bully him all day long, and even against, smaller receivers, he wasn't all that good either. So listen, he's got tons of talent. He showed that at Mississippi State with all the pick sixes and all the interceptions and all the pass breakups that he had there. But his lack of production and his lack of size and strength is really going to put a cap on just how good he can probably be in this league, just because he can't cover those big, fast, true X-type receivers that are just littered throughout the National Football League today. You're going to have to put either Michael Davis or Benjamin St-Juste on those guys, unless Emmanuel Forbes magically puts on 20 pounds before the season, which I don't see happening here. But he's definitely somebody that needs to establish himself at least as a decent NFL starter this year, or else we're going to get into legitimate bust territory for Emmanuel Forbes. Now, let me know down there in the comments section, is Emmanuel Forbes going to boom or bust in his second year in the National Football League? All right, I mean, Trayvon Diggs had a rough rookie season, and then once Dan Quinn came to town, boom, he's one of the best corners in football. Could the same thing happen to Forbes? Let me know down there in the comments section what you think. With a boom or a bust. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show, so YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time by giving me a boom or a bust down there in the comments. Second name on the list, another corner, Benjamin St-Juste. And, Juste is going into a contract year here in 2024. It really is kind of put up or shut up time for number 25. He's got good size, good length. He can hold up against these bigger wide receivers like the A.J. Browns of the world, but he's not the fastest guy in the world. He ran like a 4.55 or something like that for his 40 time a few years back when he was coming out of Minnesota, and that's obviously not great. So the long speed isn't fantastic, and I do think that this is probably his final shot to prove that he is a legitimate starter. I think he's going to get opportunities to get on the field. I think that they're going to try different combinations this year and kind of see what sticks. But Benjamin St-Juste is somebody that's had flashes in the slot and on the outside, but hasn't really stuck anywhere to this point. This is the year where it needs to. All right, now next on the list here, Jahan Dotson. And Jahan is right now firmly planted as the number 2 receiver here on the Commanders. I think that he's going to have a breakout season, and he's going to have a really good, third year in the league. But last year, if we're being honest here, it was rough for him. He had some drop issues. And, the Pro Football Focus grade went down a lot. And that's not to say Pro Football Focus grades are gospel or anything like that. But his rookie season with Carson Wentz, of all people, throwing him the football, he had a 70.5 grade. And he was the 40th highest ranked wide receiver in the game as a rookie. All right, so this guy showed a ton of promise. Then in 2023, he had some drop issues. He wasn't getting open as much. Terry McLaurin got a higher percentage of the target share. And, he would barely crack the top 100 in Pro Football Focus grading among receivers last year. So the stakes heading into year 3 is that if he doesn't establish himself as the wide receiver 2 this year, that status in future years is going to be in jeopardy because you only get a certain amount of years to really establish yourself and establish your presence in the NFL, and it's usually 3 years. So if he doesn't do that by this year, I think his status in the league is going to diminish. Then we get to Dyami Brown, another wide receiver, and, I think the stakes are a little bit more for Dyami because Jahan might go from like a wide receiver 2 to like a role player, a rotational piece. Dyami Brown might go from a rotational piece to not even considered as like somebody that's on the roster, right? Because Brown, he's had flashes, he's had some big plays, but he hasn't done it consistently. He's had drop issues. And he's been known more as a deep threat, but he hasn't really caught many deep passes in his career. So will Jaden Daniels, who has an excellent deep ball, find a nice connection with him? I think that's certainly possible. I think that Dyami definitely makes the final roster this year, but I do think this is his final chance to show what he can do and prove that he deserves a starting spot in this league. Then another offensive player that I think has pressure on him is Austin Eckler, because I like Chris Rodriguez Jr. He's young, he's up and coming, he had some nice moments last year, and Eckler, let's just put it nicely here, didn't play, up to his career standard last year in LA, which is why they let him walk. I was kind of surprised he got as much money as he did here in Washington, and he just wasn't fantastic last year. He lost a step in terms of his speed. And for somebody that's a little bit smaller, you need that speed, on your side. And he didn't last year, and it was a problem for him. So could he take another step back this year? Potentially. If that happens, Chris Rodriguez Jr., I think is going to take his spot in the rotation. Now, before we get into the other half, the second half of my most pressure list, make sure you guys click that subscribe button today for daily Commanders videos breaking down the latest news and rumors surrounding this football team. Mandatory minicamp is right around the corner. Same thing with training camp as well when the pads go on. Breaking news coverage every time the Commanders make a signing. Earlier this week, we had breaking news coverage for when they released Brandon McManus, and then they brought in Ramiz Ahmed. So we had some breaking news coverage this week. Weekly live shows every single Thursday starting at 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. Eastern time. And then we got it's all 100% free, guys. We had over 15,000 subscribers here on the channel. Really do appreciate all the growth and support that we have had over the last year or so. So if you want to join our family today, make sure you click that subscribe button right now. Another guy with the pressure on is Jamin Davis, linebacker / edge, kind of a hybrid player is how the Commanders are planning to use him, kind of in that Micah Parsons type role in this Dan Quinn system. And he's entering a contract year here in 2024. So if he plays well, he's going to get the bag as an edge rusher, and we know how much edge rushers can make in this league. If he doesn't play well, or if he plays mediocre, he's not going to make as much money, and his status here with Washington is definitely going to be in jeopardy. But listen, man, he's got an excellent physical profile. He's got long arms. He's very fast. A great short area acceleration as well. All that skill set points to being a pretty darn good edge rusher, and I think he might thrive in that role this year. Then we get to Andrew Wiley, who has been on the decline for 2 years straight and somehow is still considered a starting tackle in this league. And the only reason why he's still considered a starting tackle in this league, in my opinion, is because he's getting paid so much by the Commanders. All right, they gave him a big contract last year for some reason. And, right now in that picture, Andrew Wiley's looking for reasons to play him, and I can't find any either, Andrew. I mean, 9 sacks allowed in 2023, was not a good player whatsoever. He's really going to have to show his worth this year, or he's not going to be considered a starter in this league any longer. Then we get to Brandon Coleman, and, I usually don't like to put rookies on this list because, the rookies, you don't really have a ton to prove until year 2 or 3, where the expectations really start to go up. But with Cornelius Lucas being the prescribed starting left tackle, I don't think that's going to last long. I think Coleman is going to be thrusted into the left tackle spot, and that's going to be a big X factor for this team this year, in my opinion. If Brandon Coleman goes in there and he's good and he can protect Jaden Daniels, this offense could be legitimately pretty decent. But if he's a turnstile and he stinks, and he was bad last year in college football in the Big 12, and he was bad at the Senior Bowl, is he really going to be good going up against Micah Parsons? I don't know, man. I hope I'm wrong on him. But I thought they overdrafted him, and he's got some pretty decent physical tools. He's got long arms. He's a big body. The movement skills were pretty good at the combine as well. But boy, oh boy, the tape's ugly, and I really hope that this team can develop him and do it quickly. Then we get to Jeremy Chinn, safety here, and he actually turned down more money from the Pittsburgh Steelers to come to Washington because there in Carolina, he was misplaced in a Fangio scheme there where he's not a good deep defender. That's not his bag. He's a bigger, kind of strong safety, box safety type, and they tried to turn him into a Fangio-style safety, deep safety type, and that's just not his game, and he didn't play well in that system. But now he's in a system here in Washington where he's going to be able to play that bandit role, that linebacker safety hybrid in the 3 safety packages. He's going to be playing a true strong safety role in the base formations. He's going to be fantastic in this role, in my opinion. This guy's got the size. He's got the instincts. I still think he's a good player in this league, but the pressure's on because he's had 2 bad seasons in a row on film. If he puts another one out there, I think it might be the final nail in the coffin there in the starting career of Jeremy Chinn. Then the final one here, Tress Way. And listen, I think Tress Way, and I might take some heat for this because I know he's beloved by Commanders fans. And, I love Tress Way as a person. I do. But let's just face it. Last year was not a good year for special teams for the Commanders. Point blank, period. Tress had 46 yards per punt in 2023, which ranked 27th in the league. He was dead last in hang time amongst punters last year. Okay, so the leg is starting to lose some of its power. The yards per punt wasn't fantastic last year for Tress. And overall, the PFF team grade on special teams for Washington in terms of the punt game was dead last. And that's not all on Tress, but Tress does play a big part in that. Okay, so I'm hoping Way, who is a team captain here on special teams, can turn things around. I like him as a person. I want him to stay here as the punter, but another bad season, and it might be time to say goodbye to Tress Way. Now, who's the most under pressure on the Commanders roster this year? Is it Tress Way, the punter? Is it Jamin Davis or Benjamin St-Juste, who are on contract years? Is it Brandon Coleman, the rookie, being thrusted into potentially a left tackle starting job on day one? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. Did I miss anybody? Let me know down there in the comments section. That'll be it for today's show, guys. I appreciate your support. Make sure you click that subscribe button right now for more news and rumors coverage surrounding the Washington Commanders this offseason. All right, we got one more segment to go here, Coop, and it is the mailbag. So make sure you guys get those questions in. How many questions do we have? Do we still just have one question?
No, we need a little bit more, but we'll be okay. So we'll give you guys a couple more minutes to get your questions in here.
All right, we'll give you guys a couple minutes here. We still need like 2 or 3 more questions. Yep. So, if you've already put in a question and you want another question, you can do that. All right, we got to fill up our spots here, folks.
The answer, by the way, who is the most pressure, it's definitely Emmanuel Forbes, right? After we saw the picture of him looking like pretzel stick legs, right?
Yeah, Antonio Brown, I think it was, posted a photo of him with pretzel legs. And honestly, the pretzels on the picture were pretty close to the size of his legs.
They might have been thicker, low-key paws.
Jesus Christ, low-key paws. Emmanuel... I'm just not sure if he can. I think he can be a decent number 2 corner at his size.
Agreed.
Especially, getting interceptions and stuff. But I'm not sure if he can be a true number 1 because he can't survive against the big, fast, true, X receivers in the league like A.J. Brown. He just can't. He showed that last year. He got toasted by him twice. And he did, and then again against DK Metcalf in the Seattle game, right? So it doesn't look to me like he's added much weight this offseason. Head coach Dan Quinn talked about how he's been trying to add weight. I think that means he hasn't added weight this offseason, and he's tried and he's failed to do that. I said on draft night, Coop, you remember, on draft night I said Commanders are going to regret not taking Christian Gonzalez.
Yeah, and Gonzalez looked great before he tore his ACL last year. He looked like, is it crazy to say he looked like one of the best corners in football?
He was the best corner on the Patriots last year when he was playing, and they were a good defense last year.
They were.
They had some good defensive players. So I wish they would have taken Christian Gonzalez, but
there's a reason there's a new GM.
But if you're looking for a reason to hope, Trayvon Diggs was terrible his first year in Dallas. Then Dan Quinn comes in this scheme,
all pro,
and then he's all pro in that first season.
Yep.
So Trayvon Diggs is bigger than Emmanuel Forbes by like a lot, but like they're both aggressive. They both have really good ball skills. They both have really good instincts. Is it impossible to think that Emmanuel Forbes could thrive in this aggressive style defense? I'm not going to say it's impossible, but I think it limits his ability to be a true number one because he can't line up against all the top receivers.
This one's not going to go on the mailbag, but I thought it was funny. Jonathan Taylor says, who weighs more, Jack Sperry or Emmanuel Forbes?
Honestly, it's probably close.
I think it might be you, dude.
No, it's not me. I think Forbes weighs about 175, 170. Is probably what I'd say.
I don't know, Jim. I don't know.
I weigh 165. Do you think I weigh more than that? Do you think he weighs less than that?
If there's a gun to my head, I'm saying you.
And dude, I am a skinny guy. Like,
yeah, you're 6'6".
I'm 6'6", and I am skinny.
I think it's you.
I don't know, man.
We'll do a little side-by-side comparison. We'll have to get a picture of you in shorts, and then we'll put it next to Emmanuel Forbes.
Honestly, no. You'd be putting pretzel sticks on my legs if you saw my legs, man. All right. Oh, my goodness. Okay. Let's get some more questions in the chat before we get into them.
Wait.
What's up?
Shout out to executive producer Joey.
Executive producer Joey.
We have to...
we found it.
Yeah. Courtesy of Antonio Brown.
Jesus. Fuck.
I mean, the guy on the right
he
looks like an NFL player. And that's a high schooler.
I mean, I showed this to Cassie, and I said, tell me who... not this one, not the pretzel stick one, the regular one. I said, tell me who you think the NFL player is, and she immediately said the guy on the right.
Legit, I didn't know what Emmanuel.
Like, look at Emmanuel there, man. Like, I'm sure this other guy is awesome, and like he's an awesome high school player, and like he probably plays linebacker or some shit. But like Emmanuel Forbes looks like a little kid.
I didn't know what Emmanuel Forbes looked like at first. When I saw the original picture, I thought the guy on the right was him. I'm not lying.
Oh my gosh, man! Like,
that was wild.
I really want to root for Emmanuel Forbes because he's a talented guy.
I
want him to have success, but like, it's just a physical reality. Yeah. Like, there's guys that are bigger and way stronger than him and taller.
I mean, he was
like Forbes has long arms. That's the one thing that he can kind of make up for there.
He was out physical all of last year. I don't even know if that's a phrase, but he was. I mean.
It wasn't pretty last year. Let's just put it that way. Hopefully, this aggressive style defense fits his game better, and he's able to, be a good number two option at corner. But the thing is, you don't trust Michael Davis or Benjamin St-Juste to be a number one guy. This is why the Commanders need to go get Stephon Gilmore. He played in this defense last year. He was their number one corner when Trayvon Diggs went down last year.
Right?
He's still out there. And, they brought in Bobby Wagner, so they're obviously not opposed to bringing in older guys.
Yeah.
Especially because you have a bunch of younger players in this secondary that could learn a thing or two from Stephon Gilmore. He would be your number one corner right away. Honestly, with Stephon Gilmore in this defense, they'd be pretty good. Like, this problem at cornerback, I would feel a lot better about it.
If you sign Gilmore,
If you get Gilmore, you feel a lot better about this room because it's like, oh, Emmanuel Forbes learning from Stephon Gilmore, one of the better cornerbacks of the last decade. Okay, I'll take that with Forbes as the number two. I don't hate that at all, but, having Forbes on A.J. Brown twice a year again this year with pretzel legs, I mean, I don't know, man.
If you want to ask about Forbes in our mailbag, do it.
Yeah, let's get it, man. Okay.
Ready to go?
Let's get into this mailbag right now. Hopefully there's no pretzel leg questions on this one. I guess we'll see. If I want to keep this photo on tap. We're going to get to this mailbag right now. Thank you to everybody who put in questions. And by the way, while we're filming this mailbag, if you have a question or if you want to tell me I'm a freaking idiot for any of my takes here, you can put #Commanders and put it in the chat. Coop's going to get it in there. Really do appreciate your guys' support. And right now, we'll get into it right now. I'm answering your questions on this week's Commanders Report mailbag. It is the Commanders Report mailbag here on the Commanders Report, and today I'm answering your questions. And I love these segments, guys, because I get to talk to you guys, the Commanders fans, directly, where you guys ask your questions and I get to answer the stuff that you guys are interested in talking about. So make sure you click that subscribe button right now if you haven't already to join the most interactive Commanders fan community on YouTube. We have a bunch of fun on our Thursday live shows where you guys can ask your questions, get those hashtag Commanders in there. And also you can put hashtag Commanders in the comment section if you're watching this video on Sunday when it comes out to get a question on next week's mailbag. Really do appreciate your guys' support. Okay, I'll pause and open up for questions. First one's from Jonathan Taylor. Says, hashtag Commanders, would you want the Commanders, quote-unquote, Redskins, to sign Bakhtiari, Howard, Gilmore, Ogba, I think is what he wants, Emmanuel Ogba, the edge rusher. Rate them 1 to 4 on who you most want them to sign to lease. So I'd probably say Stephon Gilmore 1, because he would pretty much fix the problem that you have in the cornerback room right now. You feel a lot better about that room with Gilmore. Number 2, I'd go with David Bakhtiari, because if he's healthy, he fixes your problem at left tackle. And with Jaden Daniels, rookie season, you want to protect him. Then I'd go Xavier Howard, kind of a worse version of Gilmore. And then we go Ogba last. I think that they have plans for Dorrance Armstrong to be an edge, and then Jamin Davis to be an edge this year. And I think that they're pretty happy with that duo. Then we got one from Rude Boy. It says, hashtag Commanders, if you could add only one free agent or trade target to this Commanders roster before training camp, who would it be? There's a lot of guys I'd like to add to this roster, if I'm being honest with you, but if I had to pick one, Stephon Gilmore. This outside cornerback room, I think it's in dire straits. I think that they believe in Michael Davis. I think they have a lot more faith in him than I do. Emmanuel Forbes is going to have to take a big leap to be a legitimate corner this year, because he was not that last year. Benjamin St-Juste, he's got some potential. He's got long arms and a big frame, but not the fastest guy in the world. If you bring in Stephon Gilmore, that means Emmanuel Forbes can learn from him all season. He's somebody that's been in this defense. He can teach this defense in the way, Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr. want it run to these younger corners. And Emmanuel Forbes is a number 2 corner instead of being asked to be a number 1 guy this year. I like him a lot better in that role. And if he stinks, then, Benjamin St-Juste and Michael Davis are pretty decent number 2 corner options. So I think that probably Stephon Gilmore is my guy. But let me know down there in the comments section who's the number 1 player, number 1 free agent or player to trade for that you would want the Commanders to sign or trade for this offseason. It's going to be the pinned comment on today's show. So YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. And when that happens, take advantage of that time by answering today's pinned question. Got one from Demarius Young here. What's up, Demarius? Says, what's the chances the Michigan cornerback Mike Sainristil played outside corner? Not very good, man. Especially in this aggressive style defense where they're going to want them to play press a lot. They're going to want them in man coverage. I think Sainristil could survive on the outside in like a Fangio style system. Like if Jack Del Rio and Ron Rivera were still here playing that off zone, quarters coverage, off coverage type defense, I'd say Sainristil could play on the outside. But in this defense, I don't see Sainristil playing outside. I just don't think he has the frame to do it. And I think he's definitely much more suited to play in the slot. That's why he played so well that last year in Michigan. I don't think you want to take him away from the slot. Then we got one from JG. It says, will Jaden Daniels set a franchise QB records for QB? He's going up essentially against RG3, right? So, it's going to be close. I think it's going to be close, okay? Now, RG3 had a special rookie season. He really did. I think he's going to come close. You know what? Screw it. Yes, Jaden Daniels will be the best rookie quarterback in the history of this franchise. You got to believe it. All right, now speaking of Jaden Daniels, you can get his jersey right here from our friends at Fanatics when you use our link, chatsports.com/Daniels. I'll put that link in the comments and description of today's show. You click that link and you make a purchase. Fanatics is going to send us part of the proceeds from your order, so really do appreciate your support. If you're planning on getting a Jaden Daniels jersey from like the Commanders Pro Shop or something like that, but you want to help out the channel, this is your opportunity to do so. You get a really high-quality jersey from our friends at Fanatics, and you get to help out the channel with your purchase. Just go to chatsports.com/Daniels and make a purchase today. We got one from Jasmine Gray. What's up, Jasmine? It says, tell Forbes to eat something and put on some weight. He needs to stay healthy. Yeah, and that's another concern with Emmanuel Forbes. We've talked a lot about on the show about Forbes and, his lack of size and, that concern. And this is a concern I had with him coming out of college. And I told folks, I said, this could end up being an issue of his heading into the league. And it turned out I was 100% right about that. It's the reason why I wanted this team to take Christian Gonzalez over him in the draft, but and that's passed. So we have Forbes on the team. Now what, right? It's about getting him up to size, getting him as big as he can, and then hopefully he can keep that, the athleticism and the instincts and the long speed that he currently has at his current frame. It seems like he's trying to put on weight this year, but honestly, it doesn't look like he's much bigger. So I'm worried about him. I'm hoping that he, really shows out this year. But the lack of size is definitely a concern. Then we got him from Johnson Fools. Says, what are some things Cliff Kingsbury can do schematically to alleviate the effects of a below-average offensive line this year? Really good question here, Johnson Fools. So some things that you can do. Quick game, okay? You can get the ball out of the hands of the quarterback quickly. You can have quick design concepts. Screens, I expect to see a lot of screens on first and second down for the Commanders this year. Cliff Kingsbury went to it a lot in Arizona with Kyler Murray. It was kind of their bread and butter on early downs. So I absolutely expect that to be the case this year, getting the ball in the hands of Terry in space and Jahan, some guys that can move with the ball in their hands. And then also, the quarterback run game. And I think that's another thing that you can do because, what the quarterback run game does and what having a guy like Jaden Daniels does for your offense is it gives you another rusher for the defense to account for in the run game. It gives you a numbers advantage, with the read option game. It gives you tons of advantages here to have a quarterback like this. So I think the screen game is going to be important, getting the ball out of the hands of Daniels with quick downfield concepts and quick game concepts, and then also the quarterback run game to take advantage of that advantage that Jaden Daniels brings to the table. Now, predict it for me down there in the comments. Will Washington have a top 20 offense this year? Let me know down there in the comments section. Will Washington have a top 20 offense? For me, I think they might be, especially if the offensive line is as bad as I think they'll probably be like 25th in the league. I think it's going to take a year for Jaden Daniels to get his feet wet in the league, but then 2-3 years down the line, I think this could be a top 10 offense in the league. So I think it might be a year of kind of growing pains and getting this offensive line another offseason to kind of get some nice development and growth. But, this year I think we're going to see some fun flashes, but probably not a whole lot of substance this year. Then we got one from Color Guppies. It says, Austin needs to be used correctly. Austin. Oh, okay. Austin Eckler needs to be used correctly. Yeah, sure. He's going to be used as a third down back, kind of a scat back. Brian B. Rob is going to be the every down back here. Chris Rodriguez Jr. might get in the mix there a little bit as well. And then Austin Eckler is going to be third downs, pass protection, going out and, as a receiver. He's still a really good receiver. Still runs really crisp routes, but he lost a bit of his speed last year with LA. And that was big for him and the big reason why he dropped in production. So hopefully they use him correctly. I'm really hoping that we can see Eckler have some success this year and hopefully get into the end zone a couple times as well. Coming on from Patrick Davis, it says, what are your thoughts on Braden Daniels? Any shot he could be a starting tackle this year? Is it possible? Sure. The old regime drafted him for a reason. Very raw, but he's got the physical tools. Great athlete. He could play tackle. He could play guard. We'll see where he fits in, if he's any good at all. He's one of the more talented, physically talented players on the roster at this position. So I'm hoping that he kind of comes out and shocks the world. But he was raw coming out last year. He missed the entire season with, I believe, a shoulder injury. So hopefully he comes back and shows out and develops and all that great stuff. But I'm not necessarily expecting Braden Daniels to light the world on fire this year. So let me know down there in the comments section who will be the Commanders' starting offensive tackles for Week 1. Right now, the Commanders' depth chart says Cornelius Lucas and Andrew Wiley, left and right tackle respectively. Do you think Brandon Coleman sneaks in there? Do you think Braden Daniels sneaks in there? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. That'll be it for this week's mailbag. Thank you to everybody that submitted questions. Make sure you click that subscribe button right now for more Commanders coverage all throughout the 2024 offseason. All right, Coop, all of our segments are done here. What do you think here? Well, I see a question down there from Comfy. And JG. And Jasmine Gray. Oh, never mind.
Comfy says, do you think Terry and Jahan will combine for 2,000 receiving yards? No, because I don't think Jahan will get there.
Yeah, but how many is Terry? I think they're going to be just short. I think they're going to be just short of 2,000. I think Terry will get there just because he's so damn good.
I think it would be.
Plus, you also have to take into account here, they're going to feed them the rock in the screen game.
Are you expecting Terry to get 1,400 receiving yards, though? I'm not expecting Jahan Dotson to get.
I think Jahan will be like 650, 700. I think he'll have a good season. I don't think it's going to be 1,000 yards, but I think it's going to be solid.
Yeah.
And then I think next year when this offensive line hopefully gets better, that's when Dotson's really going to be like close to 1,000 yards himself. Terry, I think, does get to 1,000. I think he'll get to 1,000. I think he gets like maybe 1,100. Then you add the 650 on there. Like it's going to be relatively close to 2K. But if this offensive line was better, I would say yes. They're talented enough to do it.
Yeah.
But it's just a matter of, is Jaden Daniels going to have enough time to throw the ball in the drop back passing game this year? And I don't think the answer is yes this season. So, I think they're probably just short. And then JG comes in, says, what number pick will Washington have 2025 round 1?
32nd.
Super Bowl champs. Okay. Jaden Daniels wins his first rookie quarterback ever to win a Super Bowl in that case.
My guess, they will have the 9th pick.
Yeah. Somewhere in the late top 10 is probably what I'd say. Because here's what I'll say. I think this team is going to fight their ass off, man. Like, I think with Dan Quinn, like, these people are going to buy in. I think it's going to remind me a lot of Dan Campbell's first season in Detroit, where, like, they were losing games.
They just may not be talented enough, but they'll fight.
But people, like, understood that, like, they were competitive.
Yeah.
Like, they bought into what Dan Campbell was selling, and now, a couple years down the road, they're competing for a Super Bowl. I think it's going to be a very similar situation here in Washington, where it's probably going to be a year of growing pains. The next year, we're really going to start competing for a playoff spot, maybe even win a playoff game. And then 3 years down the road, Jaden Daniels is going to be a fully fledged superstar. Dan Quinn is going to have his system completely in place. They're going to have their guys on both sides of the ball. And I think 3 years down the road is really when we can start saying, all right, this team is going to be ready to compete for a lot of big football games in January.
There you heard it.
That's kind of the way I see it happening, but I guess we'll have to see. I'll probably say like pick 8 through 10 next year. We'll give you a pretty good draft pick, get another offensive lineman, get another corner. I mean, who knows what they're going to need next offseason, but it's going to be interesting to see. I think that pick is probably going to be used on an offensive lineman, though. That'll be it for today's show, guys. Big shout out to producer Coop and executive producer Joey behind the scenes helping us out today. We will see you guys next week, Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time here on the Commanders Report. And until next time, hail to the Commanders.